right, welcome into the Sporting News Studios with Bob Pockrass. I'm Tom Vandevoort. Let's preview, Bob, the race here at Sonoma, the Toyota Save Mart 350. And the 350, of course, is kilometers, because this thing's 220 miles, 110 laps. It's a road course. Let's talk about the course for a second.
Well, it's the most technical of the two road courses that the Sprint Cup Series races on. It's only 1.9 miles in length, or 1.99. Yep. They get around there fairly quick, but only a couple of spots to pass. And, of course, you have opportunities to pass on restarts for sure.
And on pit road, if you make the right call. It's interesting, too. If you think about that, 110 laps, 2 places on each lap, I think. Probably there are some other spots, but 2 decent places to pass, 7 and 11, I would say. That's like 220 chances, right? Compare that to Martinsville, where you got, 500 laps and 1 spot at each end. That's 1,000. That's a huge difference. So you get stuck behind a guy, and you get to 11, and you don't set it up right, or you're faster than him in general, but you can't get around at that 1 spot. You got to wait a while for another chance.
Or just push him out of the way.
Which I think we see happen, right?
Once in a while.
How much does patience play a role in this thing?
Well, it plays a role. I mean, you don't want to. I mean, you can't be so patient that you never make a pass, but you have to. I guess maybe controlled aggression would be the proper word.
And how big is qualifying? Yeah, I guess that is 2 words, Bob. How big is qualifying in this thing?
It's big, and of course there's a change in the qualifying procedure for this, because you have the NASCAR road course qualifying where they'll put 5 or 6 drivers out at one time. Split up by maybe 3 or 4 seconds apiece, and they'll get to do about 3 laps, and that's good, because that means that if you make a mistake on 1 lap, you have another chance to make up for it. It's just your best lap that is your your qualifying speed or time. Obviously, qualifying very important. There aren't all that many great spots on pit road, so you want to get a good pit stall, and of course you want to start out front. Yeah,
that's interesting too, because it really has got to change your attitude towards qualifying here. You can kind of bonsai 1 run and see if you can get it to work out, because you've got a couple other laps that you can see what happens. All right, now it's time for our picks for this week, and of course to do that we got to bring in a special guest, and let's bring her in right now. All right, we're back, and joining us now, as always, Miss Sprint Cup, and this week it is Brooke Werner. Now, Brooke, as we review the standings, I've made a big leap, because last week your compatriot Kim selected Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Okay, which was a solid pick.
Solid pick. And, of course, Steven chose Casey Kane, which was a solid pick, but they finished like 37th and 38th. Meanwhile, my pick, Greg Biffle, won the race.
No way.
So I got the 3 points for the win, plus the 3 bonus points for the guy
Squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
Yeah,
right?
well, this squirrel is now tied for the lead.
Did you sabotage all those Hendrick cars? Is that what happened?
No, I would never do such a thing.
Greg deserved that win.
But do you believe it now? If you look at the standings, which are up on the screen as we speak, 24 points for everybody.
Wow.
Wow. Okay,
even
now.
For me?
Well, yes, you're filling in for Steven this week.
Okay, all right.
You just jumped ahead in the standings.
I mean, you're only a little better looking, Bob.
So thank you.
Let's go ahead and make our picks for this week. Okay. We're going to Sonoma, as we've said. It's a road course, so you kind of feel like that might limit your selection, and it does a little bit, but not as much as it used to. Who you got this week, Brooke?
Well, first of all, if we look at the results, I think it's been 8 different drivers have won this race 8 different times here. So we can look at the history of how drivers have been at this track, but just with that kind of knowledge, it makes it hard to go for any repeats. That said, I'm going to go for Marcus Ambrose.
Okay.
I mean, kind of a given. He's good at road courses. The past, 4 races, he's made top 10. He topped off that Coors Light pole last season. And I think he could be the winner this weekend. Yeah,
that's a good pick. I mean, I think Marcus is almost definitely going to start in the top 10, which is a good place to start. What about you there, Bob, on behalf of Steven?
On behalf of Steven. And I have not consulted with him on this pick, so it's...
Well, you're going to be there.
Maybe we should you're like the hybrid right now. You're maybe like the Bevan?
Yeah.
Because I was...
Bob and Steven together?
Oh, okay. But I was Tom a couple of weeks ago.
Oh.
That's true. And you did a lousy job, by the way, back then.
Yes.
All right.
There we go.
Anyway, I'm picking Juan Pablo Montoya.
Okay.
Because
he's won here before. Yep.
Hey, he's won, in 2007 at Sonoma, his first Cup victory. But more than that, he's running well.
Right.
And I think, Chris Heroy is crew chief, second time at Sonoma, has maybe a little bit better feel for how the race will go there. And, it's time for them to be back in victory lane. So I'm going with Juan Pablo Montoya. Plus a guy who doesn't have a contract for next year always seems to push it just a little bit more.
Yeah, that's
throw
a
that
good
in
pick.
there, too.
He's got that fire under his
Juan Pablo was good here, clearly. The obvious guy for me to pick, I think, is Clint Boyer at this point. He won the race last year. And even though that may have seemed like a surprise, it really wasn't based on his performance here the past few seasons. But I'm just going to play a little bit of a hunch here and go for Kurt Busch this weekend. I feel like Kurt's been running well. He's in a good place with that team. He has won a race here as well, and he's pretty solid on this course. You know, it used to be you had a very limited set of guys that could run well here, but now everyone has adapted a lot better. I'm going to go with Kurt Busch this week.
That's a good pick.
All right, there you go. Those are our picks. Tune back in next week. We'll see how we all did, because someone's going to take the lead after this week.
It's going to be me.